Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. It's Katie. I'm really excited for today's video because I have not filmed one of these all year, and that is a reading wrap up. So every month, January, February, March, I felt like I haven't read enough books to fill like a long video. I usually read like 3 to 5 books a month because I just have other things in my life going on. But I figured since we're a quarter of the way through the year now, that's insane. We should do like a quarterly check-in, talk about all the books I've read this year and why I liked or disliked them. I'm going to be relying heavily on my Goodreads for this because honestly, when it comes to books, I have like what I read, I'm starting to have a terrible memory. I don't know, probably because it's been 3 months and I haven't talked about this anywhere. There is a range here. We've got a lot of different genres and a lot of different reading experiences. When I tell you reading experiences, I mean like some of these were the best books I've read in my whole life. Others left me with significant psychological damage. We've got romance, we've got fantasy, we've got fanfic, we've got freaking sci-fi. Like literally there is a lot going on here, which, you know, is kind of the theme of my channel. You never know what's going to happen. There's a lot going on. It's different every week. We love that. So I'm going to go through the books I've read this year and I am going to absolutely talk your head off about it, okay? Something about me is I can't shut the fuck up. I quite literally cannot shut up. I talk nonstop, 24/7, to the point that I need to record it and post it in the internet because no one else is around to hear it. And my husband, quite frankly, is done listening to me talk about these books. So now you get to hear me do it. Okay, let's begin with, these are going to be somewhat in the order of what I read them, but some of them are series that I read throughout the last 3 months, but not in exact order, but I don't think you really care what order I read these in. And if you do, go to my Goodreads. You can look on there. Link is in the description. The first book that I read this year was Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This is a YA fantasy and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Basically, the plot of this book is you have 2 opposing, air quotes, thieves. That title is very misleading. I'd say Cassie is the thief. Jace is just a prince, ? Leader. I don't know. But basically they're from opposite sides of like a feud. Cassie infiltrates their kingdom and has to pretend that she is there for a different reason than the reason she actually is there, and ends up falling in love with Jace in the meantime. But she's very guarded. She has a lot of secrets. She has a very weird upbringing. And she's very clever, which I love reading about clever main characters. And she's like a very skilled thief, which like, cool. I love that. She has a very like dark past that we're not really sure about. There's a lot of question marks. This book wraps up and it feels like it's told the whole story. Like there can't really be anything else to be said at the end of this, except for there's a bunch of questions about like Cassie's upbringing and like also she keeps seeing death. And so this whole book, you're like, oh my God, Cassie has like a magic ability that like we don't know about because she keeps seeing like the straight up Grim Reaper just like walking around and he talks to her and no one else sees him. And throughout this book, you're like, does anyone else see him? No one else does. And you're like, oh my God, the next book, Vow of Thieves. Surely this will explain why Cassie is seeing dead people. Or I guess death, the dead person, the person of death. If you're on the same page with me, you'd be wrong. That would just make too much sense. They just write that off as, I don't know, a quirky little thing she does, like playing the ukulele. It's Cassie's version. They never explain that. There's no magic system. It never gets unveiled in this book. The biggest letdown of my life. This book is pretty pointless. I don't even really understand. Like there was some loose ends in the other book that needed to be tied up, but they really easily could have just gone away or been tied up in the first book. Like this did not need to be a duology. This book is like just a giant feud that I guess makes sense, but really adds nothing to the overall story of Jason Cassie or this world or anything else, to be quite frank. I hated this book. I think I gave it 3 stars because it was well written. It was fine, but there was a lot of weird things. And again, this just largely made no sense. It didn't make sense. I don't know why it exists. Let's go to my Goodreads review and quote me exactly. Why is Goodreads the slowest loading app that you've ever had on your phone? Like, I swear, if someone put a gun to my head and said, you need to bring up Goodreads on your phone, I'd be like, shoot me. It's going to be loading for like at least a year. You know what? Maybe I need to update the app. Watch me talk all this shit and then it needs an update. What do you know? It does. Okay, well, just let that update. You guys having a good day? Oh, She's updated. I love that they kept the original charm pre-update where it still doesn't load anything. That's great. Okay, I rated it 3 stars. And also, I'm remembering now when I'm looking at my review, it seems like in this book, Mary E. Pearson really wrote herself into a corner. There's like the main plot is like 2 groups feuding, okay? And she ends up, in this world, they literally have like bow and arrows, okay? No guns, no nothing. They have bow and arrow, okay, and swords. And then she ends up kind of accidentally giving one side of the fight, the bad guys, like 400 rocket launchers. I'm not fucking with you. 400 rocket launchers. And then she's like, shit, how are people with bow and arrows in the Stone Age practically going to fight people with rocket launchers? I don't know, Mary, you tell me. And then Mary decides that how they're going to beat them? By convenience. Convenience. Love that. Again, there's like another like secret alluded to in the first book about these rocket launchers and all these weapons and cool things. And it just ends up being like, oh, no, nothing that serious. It feels like she had a really grand idea of big things she was going to dive into. And she just was like, yeah, let's just wrap this up simply. Let's not bother anybody with all the details of a really cool magic system or an interesting backstory. Let's just wrap it up with some plot conveniences and like, that's it. So yeah, overall, I give this series a 3 stars. The first book I gave a 4. The second book I gave a 3 because while I do have all these grievances with them, they weren't terrible. And also, I think Dance of Thieves is one of the best YA fantasies I've read in a long time. It's well written. I feel like it had a lot of good elements. I think now that I'm an adult, when I read YA, a lot of times I feel like disconnected from the genre and like I don't understand anything. Like it feels very empty and hollow and missing a lot of layers. But Dance of Thieves, I didn't feel like that. Vow of Thieves, I didn't really feel like that either, but it did massively fail. Sorry if this is a confusing rating. Just know, if you want to read these books, read Dance of Thieves and just don't carry on. Dance of Thieves is a pretty okay book. It's 4 stars, pretty good. I recommend it. Vow of Thieves, don't waste your damn time. Okay, moving on. Next books I read, which there's so much I can say about these books. You don't even want me to start talking about this. Next, I read the rest of the Red Rising Era 1 trilogy. So that's Golden Sun and Morning Star. Now, last year I read Red Rising and I absolutely was obsessed with it. It's one of... I am forcing my husband to read it now. That's how much I liked it. And then I started reading Golden Sun. I got in about 100 pages and then I had to put it down because we were moving. And then just by circumstance, I never picked it back up. The beginning of this year, I was like, I really want to finish some books that I have sitting that haven't been finished, that I'm like in the middle of. So I picked up Golden Sun first and dove in. And I mean, hi. Yeah, clearly I enjoyed these. These are some of the best works of fiction I've ever read in my life. It's a sci-fi series. It's in a world divided by colors. The main character, Darrow, infiltrates the highest color. He's from the lowest color, red, and he infiltrates the highest color, gold, and starts a revolution to make things equal for everybody. I cannot believe how good these books are. The sci-fi element in outer space, in the planets, the cleverness and wit of Darrow. He's so smart. I love, love, love reading smart characters. One of my favorite things about this series is that Pierce Brown is not afraid to bring Darrow to absolute rock bottom multiple times. There are times where you read scenes of Darrow that are so embarrassing. Like he's at the very bottom. He has really gone as low as you can go. And you're like, wow, I don't know how he's going to get out of this. Like I really don't know how he's going to get out of this. And he does. And not only does he, but he realizes the mistakes he made that got him there. The character growth and development in these books, the cast that you get to follow, it feels like we have been through a whole lifetime together. Like my husband's reading Red Rising right now, and he just got to the point where my favorite character, Severo, is introduced in the very beginning of Red Rising. And now that I've read all of this, I'm like, you have no idea how much is going to happen to Severo. Like I can't even talk about Red Rising with him because I'm so afraid of spoiling things, because he just goes on such a journey. Like all of them go on such a journey. So I don't know. I like 6-star reads. 6-star reads. These are so freaking good. I think the first one's a little slow to start, Red Rising, but just get in there. It's very Hunger Gamesy. They go to like a Hunger Gamesy school where Darrow's like leading his group, and they end up, oh God, I don't want to spoil too much, but these were some of the best reads of my lifetime. Both Golden Sun, not as much, but Morning Star, absolutely sobbing uncontrollably at multiple points in this book. The character relationships, I love that no one is safe in this. Characters will die, just gonna let you know. And I think that's meaningful. I think it means something because honestly, what is life without death? There is no life without death. Without a life without death has no meaning. So I don't know. I know it's hard to lose characters, but it means something when it's done in the correct way. And Pierce Brown does it in the correct way. I love the way he writes Darrow. I love the way he writes every single character. Like, I just could go on about this for years and years and years. I love the politicking and the clever and the wit and the just how smart Darrow is and the way he maneuvers social situations. And these were a highlight of my year so far. Like, really, truly, I love you, Pierce Brown. Thank you. Thank you for this. Next, I read something that changed my life forever in another positive way and was also, so Morningstar and Golden Sun were my first 5-star reads of the year. This was my first 5-star romance of the year. I read it on the Kindle. Draco, Malfoy, and the Mortifying Ordeal of Falling in Love. Yes, I read Harry Potter, Hermione, fanfic, and I ate up every single word of it, and it was one of the best things I've done all year. Holy, oh my God, kicking my feet, the cutest thing I've ever read. Carrie Can read this book on her channel, and that's what made me want to read it. And I did a whole reading vlog on it. You guys can look on my channel if you want to watch that. It is quite literally one of the cutest books I've ever read. You can download the EPUB and read it on your Kindle. That's what I did. And it changed my life forever. I have always loved Ali Hazelwood's books, and she was a fanfic author. And I have always kind of thought that the reason I liked Ali Hazelwood's books so much was because of the fanfickiness of them, the tropiness and the fun aspects. Like, I was like, I bet if I read fan fiction, I would like it. And after I saw Carrie read these books, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. If you're a Harry Potter purist, which is what I thought I was before I read these, I promise, read it. It's just the Harry Potter backdrop, and you can get into this. You're going to freaking love it. Even if you're not a Hermione stan, you're going to love it. They are the perfect enemies to lovers. They're both smart in their own ways. Draco is grumpy. Hermione is kind of sunshine. She's so smart. He loves seeing how smart she is. They used to hate each other, so they're enemies to lovers. Like, just the whole thing, guys, it's really such a good book. And I was kicking my feet the whole way. It is very slow burn, which I'm obsessed with. I gave it 5 stars. The author, Brigitte, she's also just got picked up by Ali Hazelwood's agent. So we'll be seeing books from her in the bookstore very soon. I'm very excited about it. She's currently writing a book. I love her so much. All I have to say is good things about it. Definitely read it. Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Falling in Love. Next up, following my romance kicking my feet era, I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This was something else. What do we say about this? Look, when this book came out, people were like, I heard it's going to be kind of like Omegaverse. And I was like, no, it's not. I made this our book club read. My book club voted for it. We read this in book club. They were like, is it Omegaverse? I was like, absolutely not. No way. There's no Omegaverse elements in this. There will be no weird things. No, absolutely not. No. So I was wrong, and I'm sorry to everyone, but everyone ate it up anyways. And why did this work so well? This is Ali Hazelwood's first foray into paranormal romance, into something that's not just contemporary lit ficky chick lit romance. She writes the STEMness novels. Those are all the women in STEM romance books. She is most known for previously writing Kylo Ren fan fiction. She's a fanfic author, and everything she writes, I eat it up. She writes the most tropey, cute, kicking your feet, laughing books, and every book that comes out from her, she has a crazy catalog. She has not been around that long, and I think she's written what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books already, and she has a 6th coming out in June. She's just on a roll. This book, I feel like every book she writes gets progressively better every single time. Her writing gets a little bit better, a little bit more. She hones in her craft a little bit better. This one I absolutely loved. It's about a vampire and a werewolf from opposing clans, the vampire clan, the werewolf clan. They get married to help relations within their clans, kind of like a political marriage, so marriage of convenience. Forced proximity, enemies to lovers. It is the cutest freaking thing I've ever read. There's not a lot of background conflict going on. I mean, there is like a B plot about Misery. That's the main girl character who's the vampire, which I think Misery is such a cute name. I don't care what anyone says. I think it's a cute name. her like backstory, that the reason that she's there or the reason she agreed to the marriage of convenience is in the background the whole time, but it doesn't overtake the plot, I feel like. And her and Lo's story is so cute. I love Lo. He's the cutest. Oh, there's also a child in this. His sister, Anna, I think is her name, is part of the story. And she's not annoying. Most kids in books annoy the piss out of me, or they don't talk like kids their age should. I felt like this was a great representation of a kid, and I was happy with it. And just genuinely love these characters, love this book. Everything Allie writes is 20 million stars for me. I couldn't say more about it, and I loved the paranormal aspect. I even loved the weird Omegaverse portions of it. Like, not the not safe for work elements so much, but just like the clan and the pack and him being the leader and like what that means and all. Like, it was great. It was so great. Okay. After this, I was like, I need more fanficky fun, awesome times. And I made a horrible mistake, like a horrible one. It's documented on this channel for everyone. I read Manacled on my Kindle. I'm having PTSD. I'm having flashbacks. This is the book that gave me genuine trauma. Like, I might need to see a counselor. Who is reading Manacled? And I'm sorry if you are, but I am unwell. I am unwell. What is this? It's rather fucked. It's a bit fucked, isn't it? A bit fucked. I'm losing years of my life out here, guys. At this moment, there is absolutely no way I would ever recommend this to any person I've ever met in my life. Such a terrible book. I hate being mean to other people's favorite books or books that they love, but it was just the non-con scenes in that book made me feel disgusting, and we're supposed to be rooting for the man that's doing this to her, and I can't unsee it. It put such a bad taste in my mouth. It sent me into such a not good place, and I felt disgusting reading it. I didn't get past the flashback scenes, and a lot of people ask like, oh, did you read to where she gets her memories back? No, I didn't. And I'm sure maybe there is something that I could understand after that point that would make the book better. But to me, there's just like no redeeming a male character that instigates these non-con scenes or like has to do them. I don't care what powers that be that are forcing him to do this. I don't care what kind of surveillance they have on him to make sure that he is doing this. It just is not for me, and I can't do it. It is no, not for me. So Manacled, you can go watch the reading vlog where I descend into madness and question literally everything. Also, I had every trigger warning in the book and just assumed, I don't know what I assumed. Honestly, I assumed it wouldn't be as bad as these trigger warnings were telling me it was going to be. I was like, there's absolutely no way it's going to be this crazy, right? Wrong, because it was crazier maybe than what I thought it was going to be. So it's like a mash of The Handmaid's Tale and Harry Potter. Draco and Hermione. Hermione is his handmaiden. Is that even? I've never read Handmaid's Tale. I talked to my sister about the book, and she said it was far more graphic and detailed than Handmaid's Tale, and nothing like. It was like a darker version of Handmaid's Tale, which for me, 0 stars. We DNF'd it. And I spent a lot of time reading that book. It is a very big book. So that was a bummer. But after I finished that, I was like, what can I do to save me from madness? And I said, you know what we'll do? We'll pick up another Allie Hazelwood and hopefully feel joy again. I read Check and Mate in like 2 days. I thought it was so cute. Rated it. It was the only Allie Hazelwood book. It is the only Allie Hazelwood book I've ever rated 4 stars. I have always had a romantic idea of chess. Okay. It has always been in my head like, ooh, chess. Cute. I don't know. Like some people get like that about football. I get like that about chess. I think it's so cute. Again, I love witty, strong, smart characters. And this is 2 witty, strong, smart characters falling in love with each other. This is told as Magnus Carlton and I can't remember the girl chess player, but like it's basically fan fiction of them, which is hilarious. Thank you, Allie Hazelwood, for delivering me all the things that saved me from depression and psychosis. Yeah, really, really, really cute. Really, really, really good. I could say a million more things about it, but it was a lot deeper than her other stuff. I feel like the romance was kind of a background thing. We were more focused on our main girl character, Mallory, and her storied history with chess and the dark parts of her family and the things that really messed with her head and make her not confident in herself. She has 3 younger sisters, so I related to her a lot, or 2 younger sisters. oldest daughter. I'm the oldest daughter. I have 3 younger sisters. I relate. So that was really cool. I loved seeing her come into her own. It's very much kind of a coming of age story. A lot of people like beef with this book is that it is in young adult. That's where it's shelved. And they think that the themes, especially the like sexual tension, etc., was very adult. And I'm going to tell you my feelings about that. So back in the early days of YA, there was no YA shelf, okay? And it became a genre because there was a need that needed to be filled for young adults. I feel like right now we're going through the same thing with a new category that needs to be reshelved in a different section of the library or whatever. And that is the new adult genre. New adult is I'm too old for young adult. I'm like entering college. I'm graduating high school, but I don't think I'm quite ready to read adult, right? And I think this is a new adult book. Mallory is like 18, I think, or 19. She like is very much a new adult. There's like new adult themes. It's not quite as dark, or it's not quite as graphic as adult romance, but it's definitely more graphic than young adult usually is. I really do think it's new adult, and new adult needs a shelf. New adult is a genre of its own. It's becoming its own thing. There's several other books I've read that I feel like deserve to be on a new adult shelf. But if there is no new adult shelf, where do you put this? It's got to go in YA or adult. And I think it doesn't belong in adult. It's too young to be adult and it's too old to be YA. So that's where I stand with it. I'm not mad at her saying this is a YA book. I think that's as close as she could get. It was a good book. I really liked it. 4 out of 5 stars. I recommend. Like I said, a lot deeper than her other books. It's a lot more grounded in real life issues. We talk a lot more about the characters' real lives than just the romance. And it does have like the tropey, funny, cute, fanficky moments that Ali Hazelwood is known for, but not as many of them as her books like Bride and other books. So anyway, check and mate. 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I read this on the Kindle and I rated it 3 stars. It is like a Regency era romance fantasy. And the main girl has half a soul. She had half of her soul stolen by a fairy when she was very young, and it has affected her. It like makes her not able to like feel deeply and like read social cues. Like, I don't know. Her cousin, who is her BFF, goes to London to find a husband, and she tags along with her. And while there, she ends up meeting a very eccentric magician type character and becomes friends with him and tries to figure out how she can maybe get her soul back. And they fall in love. I was told it was Howl's Moving Castle meets Pride and Prejudice. I have not read the Howl's Moving Castle book, but I've seen the show. And I would say that the magician definitely gives Howl vibes. And maybe the main character doesn't really give Sophie. I felt very disconnected to her because of the way that she feels things and the way that she acts. Like she's like not deeply emotional and doesn't feel things quite the same. She's like she doesn't feel intense anger or intense excitement. She's like very just like all the time, which to me is kind of boring. I'm reading these for the dramatics. I want to see the drama. Give me the craziness. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't really get it in this. I felt like the romance was there, but it wasn't like very exciting or the main part of it. I've seen a lot of people say it's like their favorite book of the year. I don't think I agree. It was fine. It took up my time and I didn't hate it, but it definitely was not like more than a 3-star read. So do with that information what you will. The silence is so loud, honestly. What if I told you I'm a veteran? What if I told you I went to war this year and I came back and I, like many other war heroes, you leave the war, but the war doesn't leave you. The Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzin. Now, I have to give a lot of backstory. Okay, we have to talk in depth about this and why I chose this. So this was my book club's read for the month of March, and it was a tie between this and Scythe. I ended up being a dictator because we had a tie, and I picked this instead of Scythe because I thought, Thea Guanzin is a fanfic writer, a Kylo Ren fanfic writer, like Ali Hazelwood, and she's also represented by Ali Hazelwood's agent, the same agent that also represents Brigitte, who just wrote Mortifying Ordeal that I just talked about. So I was like, surely this will be a slam dunk. Surely this will be the book that solves all my problems. Basically, it's giving kind of Shadow and Bone. This is a reskin version of her in-universe fanfic. Basically, she had to take both characters out of the Star Wars universe and make a new universe to put them in. So I don't know how much this resembles the fanfic. I've heard people say it's pretty close, and then I've heard other people say it's like nothing like the fanfic. So I don't really know, and I'm not going to read the fanfic because, quite frankly, I've had enough of the Hurricane War. I lost the Hurricane Wars. Okay, I was in the trenches, shrapnel going over my head. We're talking. I was riding on a tank. I got ran over by a tank. I was taken as a prisoner of war, and I was stuck here for the duration of this book. I finished this. Why didn't I DNF it? Because I had such high hopes for it, and I couldn't let book club read this and do it without me. Like, I couldn't just put it down and not, like, I felt responsible since I broke the tie. Hello, this is your problem. So I read the whole thing. There are a lot of problems with this book. First of all, I think Thea was not ready to write a high fantasy universe. It's glaringly obvious through all of this. The world building is very bizarre. The foreshadowing in this book is literally just a character being like, gee, I wonder if he's going to be there. And then lo and behold, he's there at the location that you're going to. Like, it is the most, you can't even really call it foreshadowing at the end of the day. The romance made little to no sense. The main character had almost no depth and was one of the most confusing people I've ever read. Her and him. Like, they're from opposing sides of the war, much like in a Kylo Ren situation. She ends up having to marry him, marriage of convenience style. When you read this, when you start reading this, you're going to say, how is there a marriage of convenience in this? Like, there's no, like, she's just a soldier and he's just a dude. You get there. It takes a lot. It's not really going to make sense. And you're going to be lost for most of the plot. Okay. The plot, we don't know what's going on or how or why. There's a lot of weird little things that happens. Oh, the dialogue and banter, some of the worst I've ever read in my life. Like, there is a point where they like combine their magic together and like no one's ever seen anything like this happen before. It happens like early on in the book. And you're like, shouldn't we be thinking about this? Shouldn't we be like, I don't know, doing something about this? Like, your magic is combining. Weird. And as they're leaving the place where their magic combined, he literally like over the comms is like, oh my God, wasn't that crazy? Not kidding. This is literally the dialogue. And she's like, I don't care. I'm going to come get you. And he's like, you got to catch me first. It felt like something I wrote when I was in 3rd grade. Like, it's like the most cliche dialogue I've ever heard. There is nothing in this that makes me enjoy it. And I also had to read one of it was a war crime sex scene that I read in this book. It made me think about getting my eyeballs removed from my head. It was terrible. The whole book, really. I think I might even do a full breakdown of what's so wrong with this book, but it's a lot. There's a lot of very strange things going on in here. And all the tabs I have in here are just listing things that don't make any sense. So, unfortunately, this got greenlit for book number 2. Lucky for me, I will not be reading that. So, yeah, I think I gave this 2 stars. My Goodreads review literally starts with, there are not many books that make you wonder if 2 stars is generous. And that's how I feel about this. Thea, I had such high hopes for you. I am so sad to give you this terrible review, but this is one of the worst books I've ever read. It should have stayed on AO3. Next, I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez on my Kindle. I rated this 3 stars. I didn't super love it, honestly. It wasn't a bad book or anything, but it just was fine. It was a fine romance. The main male character has struggles with anxiety, and they're both doctors. They fall in love. This is a continuation of one of her series. I think that the first book is Part of Your World, and this is the best friend from Part of Your World, her book. So it was fine. It was good. There was a cute dog in it. There was a lot of themes. There's fake dating. I just don't really have much to say about it. It was cute. I thought the male main character was nice. I thought the female main character was nice. I don't have a lot of qualms about it, but there wasn't any, I definitely wasn't kicking my feet screaming. It was like, okay, yeah. To quote my Goodreads review, I wrote, this is so good and fine that I literally don't even have anything to say about it. And I still feel like that. I can't even like, if I'm not passionate enough to give you the scathingly negative review of the Hurricane Wars or the glowingly positive review of like Mortifying Ordeal, like if you fall in the middle and I'm just like, it was a book, then that just tells you all you need to know, I think, at the end of the day. The last book I read is Keeping 13. This is the second book in the Binding and Keeping 13 duology, which is part of the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh. I'm going to need to sit here. You know what? Buckle in. Buckle in. Get comfy because I cannot shut the fuck up about these books. So, what are these books about? These books take place in Ireland, which I freaking love that aspect of them. They are about a group of boys that go to a private school called Tommen. I think they pronounce it Tommen. I say Tommen. 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 The first two books are about Johnny and Shannon. Johnny is going to be a professional rugby player. Also, all the boys in these books, they're all sports romances. The first two and the fifth and sixth, I believe, will all be focusing on rugby, but Joey's a hurler. I don't know what hurling is. I don't know what sport that is, but anyway, the first books, they're about Johnny and Shannon. Johnny is going to be a professional rugby player. Like, he is kicking ass at the, like, basically high school level, and he's been, like, already looked at by teams. Like, he's going to be a professional rugby player, but he gets a really bad injury to his groin, and shit's not looking so hot right now. But in the beginning of this book, Shannon, our female main character, is transferring to Tommen from her public school because she's getting ruthlessly bullied at school, like, beat the shit out of. Like, I'm telling you, this girl, like, Shannon, someone please help her. So she switches schools, goes to Tommen, and on one of her first days, she gets lost and runs across the rugby field, if you don't know. If you don't know how to talk, like, if you're from the UK, the rugby pitch, and Johnny hits her in the head with a rugby ball, and she, like, conks right out on the field. He, like, picks up Shannon, takes her to the principal's office. Her shirt's fucked up. Like, it just, like, fucks up her whole day. And this is how they're meet cute. He hits her in the head with a rugby ball. Things unfold. Shannon is from a very, and I tell you when I say this, like, please read the trigger warnings for this book. It is very dark, very deep, much more than just a romance. Shannon's family is unfortunately under the wrath of her alcoholic, abusive father who abuses all her siblings and her mother. She has 3 younger brothers and 2 older brothers. Her younger brothers are Tig, Ollie, and Sean. They're like 12, 5 or 6 and 2. And her older brother, Joey, who I think is 19 or 18, and Darren, who is like in his 20s. I don't know. They're older than her. So, it goes through each member of the family's complicated relationships with this family dynamic and just what this terrible person has done. It goes a lot into their mom and what it's like for her to be a victim and also not get the kids out of it and stay in this domestic violence relationship. It goes through just, oh God, it's so deep. And Johnny Kavanagh has never been interested in any girls. Okay. He's just a rugby guy. That's all he cares about. But he is in love with little Shannon. That's what they call her in the books. Little Shannon. He is obsessed with her and he falls hard. Okay. He tries to avoid Shannon, but he can't. She's perfect. And he starts to, over the course of the books, kind of get into her background. She's trying to hide her family situation. He figures it out. And the first 2 books are really about the Lynch children. Shannon's last name is Lynch. So her and all her siblings getting out of this really terrible situation and how they do it. Johnny plays a major role in Shannon and her family escaping this really terrible situation. And it's just like, first of all, the most wholesome romance I've ever read. Like, is the story dark and crazy? Yes. But Johnny and Shannon are the cutest ever. It is a very slow burn romance, which I love. I think people who love Mariana Zapata, you would eat this up in a million times over. There's not a lot of books I read where the romance and the, like, B plot of, like, Shannon's life and what she experiences at home are just as strong as one another. Like, both Shannon's home life and her relationship with Johnny are equally represented in the books, and they're both done so well. The pacing is incredible. There's a lot of times where books like this, where it's like a male character seemingly saves the female character from a really terrible home life, could go south really easily and get, like, savoury and weird. And because of the way this book is paced so perfectly and hits every beat exactly the way it needs to, it does not read like that at all. Not to mention, not only is this book so cute and so dark and sad, it is also hilarious. There are so many points in this book where I was genuinely laughing so hard I had to put the book down. I was crying. Like, the way that Chloe Walsh writes comedy is great. It's not just one-line jokes. It's not just the dialogue. It's like the whole scene in general, and the way it's written is so freaking funny. Gibbsy, Johnny's best friend, is one of the funniest people I've ever read in my life. Like, probably one of my favorite characters of all time. So the first 2 books, Binding and Keeping 13, I read Binding 13 almost a year ago and started keeping 13 a year ago. And then it was, again, one of those books where just like circumstances in my life, I had to put it down, couldn't pick it back up. And then recently I was in the biggest book slump of my life, thanks to Hurricane Wars. I had DNF'd One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and I had DNF'd The Right Move from the Windy City series. I just couldn't do it. And I was like, what can I read? I popped those books back on, which the audiobooks for those books are incredible. The Irish accents are, it's real Irish people as far as I'm concerned. I mean, and they sound like the actual characters. Like when I listen to Johnny and Shannon's voice, I'm like, yeah, this is what Johnny and Shannon would sound like. Like, and the Irish slang and just like everything. I just love these books so much. So Johnny and Shannon are the first books. The second books are Joey's books. That's Shannon's brother. That's Saving and Redeeming 6, I think. And then there's Taming 7, which is going to be Gibbsy's book. And that comes out in April, which I'm so excited for. One of my highly anticipated reads of April. But yeah, that is what I've read this year. I did not talk about my DNFs, which were One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. And I also DNF'd, brain's just not braining today. Oh, The Right Move by, in the Windy City series, the second book after Mile High. I also DNF'd that. I don't know, like that book, I think because I was in a book slump already, I was like, I don't even know. Like, I just can't handle this. If it's even a little bit bad, I just can't get through it. And that's how I felt with that. I'm currently reading Scythe, and that is going really well. I'm really liking it. And yeah, I don't know. That's the books I've read this year. That's my full rant. We've had, again, like I said, diverse cast of characters. We've got fanfic, sci-fi, horrible times, amazing times. It's really been like a 5-star or nothing year. I've only had a few 3-star books. So that's the news on that. I hope you loved hearing about these. I hope it maybe inspired you and gave you some ideas on what you're going to read next. Maybe you feel seen in this. Maybe you also read the Hurricane Wars and it made you debate whether or not time in a federal prison would have been more pleasurable. Because same. And Manacled. I mean, Manacled was one of the worst books I've ever read. Sorry. I'm sorry if you liked it. I feel terrible shitting on people's books, but not my thing. Anyways, subscribe to the channel if you like book videos. I talk about books a lot. I'm not quite a booktuber, but I'm also quite not a booktuber. I'm like right in the middle. You never know what's going to happen here. I do different things every week. Sometimes it's books, sometimes it's sisterly advice, sometimes it's vlogs, sometimes it's rodeo stuff because I have horses and you just really never know what's going to happen. So anyways, I love you guys so much. Hit subscribe, like, comment, tell me your thoughts and feelings below. I want to hear everything. Even if it's just shit talking me for hating Manacled, that's fine. I give you permission to talk shit about me for hating Manacled. If that's the thing I go down for, take me down. Take me down. Okay, I'll see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Peace.
Ask her what she into. She said anime games. Wow. Put a ring out now. Baby, check me out. She's a wallflower. But a chick. Look right through your glasses. A new friend. No, you're not alone. Yeah, you done right here. Yeah.